It's time for Did You Watch It?
How does this show work? We watch what we like, we talk about what we watch, and maybe you'll like what you hear. I'm Liz.
And I'm Neil.
Last night, we watched episode 10 of The Amazing Race, season 24. The show aired on Sunday, May 4th, 2014. Here's what we thought about it.
It was a very interesting start to this leg of the race.
Yes.
The Cowboys made their official declaration that they are Switzerland.
Yeah, and they're smart.
And they're smart to do so. And the thing is, I don't have a problem with the declaration in the beginning. But as we talked about last week, this accidental alliance is seemingly a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, it is.
And we will see exactly just how forceful it reckoned this week.
Yeah.
The Afghanimals are definitely aware that the Cowboys are the bigger threat than Brendan and Rachel.
Because they're smart too.
This week started, their clue said that they needed to travel to Seville, Spain.
Yes.
Which was very nice to get out of the cold, get out of the snow and the elevation and all that good stuff.
And it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. Brendan and Rachel stopped off at a travel agent rather than going straight to the airport. I don't know whether or not that factored into the result that they had, but it just looked like Dave and Connor and Leo and Jamal, they left very close to each other.
They did.
They were able to get their flight and have it arrive that night.
Yeah.
Rather than having to wait until the morning like the other three teams did.
Yeah. And again, we see one more time that anything could happen at any given time.
This is true. I was a little concerned about whether Dave and Connor's and Leo and Jamal's lead would allow them to at least start the next task before the other teams arrived from the airport. And based on what Jed and Cord said, they basically had an hour lead.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure was very good for them.
Yes.
So the first task this week was a roadblock, and it was called the Barber of Seville. Aptly named.
Yes, it was.
Using a straight razor, a team member had to shave a balloon covered in shaving cream in under 60 seconds.
Yes, while not popping the balloon.
Yeah, couldn't pop the balloon because, then that's a bad thing.
Rachel could have used the razor on her own hair because I don't know what was up in this episode, but that was the worst hairstyle I've ever seen on her. What was that?
I don't know. I'm just chalking it up to stress.
It was like knotted on one side and then a bow on the other and then scraggly.
Yeah, it was stupid hat head. That's what it was. So Dave and Connor and Leo and Jamal were able to start first, start before the other teams got there. Brendan's paranoia is through the roof, and I'm just loving it.
It is.
He was even worried that the Cowboys were going to U-turn him.
Yeah.
Even though they had declared they were Switzerland.
Well, but this is what happens when you're the most, disliked team for your behavior on the whole series.
Oh, yeah.
So, and
exactly.
I loved, Rachel's little thing saying, we're used to this. I don't know if I would ever want to be used to people not liking me.
Right?
How do you feel about that?
It would be one of those things where I would just have to understand that, yes, this is a competition. Yes, there is a lot of money at stake, and people are not going to want to be like, holding hands, singing Kumbaya.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But you can be cordial.
Like we have seen both the Afghanimals and the Country Girls be.
There hasn't been a lot of animosity expressed by either of them. I mean, granted, the Country Girls are spending a hell of a lot of time drafting, but they are drafting
Yes.
successfully.
Drafting, clinging,
yeah,
hitching
and
a
you know
ride.
what? Whatever gets you through. I have a lot more respect for Caroline and Jennifer than I did 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, because you're seeing now that that is their strategy.
Yes, and they are employing it masterfully.
They are. They are working it.
So Dave and Connor finished the roadblock first. Leo and Jamal finished shortly thereafter. Then Caroline and Jennifer arrived right before the Cowboys did. Brendan and Rachel were absolutely lost.
Yes, they were.
And as I recall, Dave and Connor and Leo, they were able to run to the location from the two pillars.
From the shaving, yeah.
It was relatively close by, but oh my goodness, Brendan and Rachel just had big trouble.
From a person who gets lost all the time and is extremely directionally challenged like myself, I kind of had to empathize with them.
I could also, if I wanted to, but I don't. I'm just taking great pleasure in their scatterbrainedness. Brendan and Rachel seem to have very little difficulty completing their respective tasks. Where they get hung up is in the travel that occurs between the tasks.
Right? Between the bad luck in the taxis and
right.
Yeah, like,
and the fact that Rachel can't stay on her feet to save her life.
Oh my gosh, this poor girl, this episode was on her ass more than she was on her feet.
She needs training wheels for her ankles.
I felt so bad though. How many times can you fall that hard and still be okay?
So Brendan and Rachel actually got to the roadblock last, but they were able to finish third. I believe it was Jennifer that was doing the shaving. Once she got into it, she finished very quickly.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of the other ones, because Connor was like a last second thing. Jamal had about 2 or 3 seconds left. Jet and Cord were like right under the wire. But Caroline, she finished with like 10 seconds.
Wow. It was pretty cool.
So Caroline and Jennifer finished fourth. Jet and Cord finished last.
I gotta say that Jamal's comment about young Connor was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
When he's like comparing the fact that he hasn't gone through puberty and doesn't have any hair on his face, and then here's Jamal, who
is covered in hair,
who just
can't handle a razor.
Yeah, but that was tenuous with the balloon anyway.
Oh, yes.
I can't imagine that any stroke with that straight razor would not have popped it.
Well, it requires a gentle touch, which I totally understand. So from the roadblock, they had to travel to Real Alcazar, which was the detour. Now, in this detour, the options were Spanish Steps or Run with the Ball.
Yes.
In Spanish Steps, the teams had to join a flamenco troupe and master and complete a routine to the satisfaction of the judge.
Which was so cool, by the way. I just love people who know how to dance.
Well, there you go. It's the Latin thing.
Yeah, man, it was awesome.
And in Run with the Balls, teams, as I alluded to last week, teams wear inflatable bull bubbles and they run through the streets while trying to avoid other bull bubbles who were trying to get in their way.
Annihilate them. They weren't just trying to get in their way. It was brutal.
Oh, it was a mess.
Oh my gosh.
There was one little addition to this task. As they traveled through the streets, they had to memorize parts of a quote which appeared on large posters at various points along the way. So what they had to do was, once they got to the end, they had to recite the quote in order to get their next clue.
Yes, and I gotta say, with all that rolling and slamming and being pounded by the other bulls, I can see where it would be easy to not see the giant poster.
Dave and Connor and the Afghanimals chose to do the run. They got jacked up.
Oh my gosh, I felt really bad for Dave.
Yeah, even though it kind of like caused me pause, I said, you know what, Dave, go ahead and play the old card.
He could play the age card in this particular segment because it was just so...
This is a one-time exemption.
Right? And I can't believe I'm about to admit this.
Go for it.
But even when Rachel was kind of playing the girl card, I sort of was okay with it, given how hard she was being pummeled by those bulls.
She was being pummeled hard because she lacks ballast. But see, here's the thing. Brendan was getting thrown around like a little Pop-Tart as well.
He was.
I saw him do a couple of flips.
Yeah, a couple of flips and like feet in the air.
Yeah, I was laughing.
Right? Those bull balls meant business.
I mean, once again, Connor's a baller, And so you figure the little waif with the great hair is just going to be basically cannon fodder.
Yeah.
But he gave back as good as he got on more than one occasion.
He totally did.
Yeah. Brendan, I saw one where like three of them kind of like converged on him. And he just like crumpled.
Yeah, those balls were brutal.
Meanwhile, at the speed bump,
yes,
Caroline and Jennifer were tasked to deliver 6 Spanish hams.
Yeah, this was kind of gross.
Why is it gross?
Well, because the feel of like raw meat all over your body while you're running and you're sweaty, it's just kind of gross.
Well, you know what? The other option would be to watch the race from, wherever they were going to be.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Enjoy the ham.
Exactly.
Jet and Cord were having a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
This leg.
This was the first time I've seen this.
Leg 2, if I remember correctly, they came in like really late, after coming in first the leg before.
How do you remember this stuff? I'm just boggled by your memory.
Well, it's a recall thing.
If I could have half your memory cells, I'd be like Superwoman.
So yeah, they couldn't catch a flight. They were last out of the roadblock, and now trying to find the clue in the little pool, they were having really tough time trying to find that clue.
They were in the wrong building, then they were in the wrong hallway. Yeah, poor guys.
Yeah, and then once they finally found the clue, then they decided that they were going to do the bowls.
Yes.
Okay, which is no problem, but the thing is, like, they got through the first part of it, totally bypassed the poster that they were supposed to see, so they had to go back to the first one.
Oh, I was cringing.
They were just having a rough time.
Yeah.
When Leo and Jamal were going through the bowls...
Okay, I gotta say, I was laughing my ass off.
That was some funny stuff.
They were super extra funny in this particular part.
It wasn't so funny when Jamal had that little knee injury.
Oh no, right?
Fortunately, he was able to make his way to the person, present the quote, so it looked like he could continue. Running was just not an option for him.
It just wasn't. And when he pulled up his pant leg and you looked at it, it just looked like, ouch.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Right? Something is not in place.
Note to Leo.
Yeah?
When you run with the bulls, be sure to wear a belt.
Why? What happened?
Because the moon came up early.
Did I miss that? Wait, how did I miss the Afghanimal moon?
Well, it was just his shorts. See, it wasn't a hairy moon. It was a fabric-covered moon.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
David Connor came in first. Leo and Jamal came in second. Brendan and Rachel happened to make it to third.
Yeah.
Note to Caroline and Jennifer, black is your color.
Really?
Yeah, between the maid uniforms last week and the flamenco outfits this week.
You liked it?
Yeah, it was a good presentation.
Nice.
Props to Caroline and Jennifer. Like I said, I'm slowly bringing them into the fold.
Yes.
I'm not looking at them as the Amazing Race mascots,
right,
as I did way back in the day.
I know. I think because now we're actually seeing their whole act as a strategy.
Yeah, and I'm sure that not all of it is an act.
Yeah.
I just think what they're doing is they are just in it for the moment.
Yeah.
Because they know that at any given point they could just totally implode and that would be it for them and the race would be over.
Yeah.
But they are just gaining a lot of benefit.
They are.
A lot of benefit.
It's very cool.
So then after the detour, teams were told to go to the General Archive of the Indies. And at this location, we find the double U-turn.
Yeah, this was rough.
Dave and Connor couldn't use the U-turn because they had used it previously, when they should have U-turned the Cowboys because they were standing right next to them, back in Rome.
But they didn't.
Leo and Jamal got to the U-turn second and finally got the chance to U-turn somebody.
Yeah.
And they did exactly what I told them to do last week. They ended up U-turning the Cowboys.
They're smart.
It was an incredibly smart move.
It's strategic.
Yes. Yes. So that when Brendan and Rachel, who got to the W turn third, arrived, and they were totally shocked and totally surprised that, that the Afghanimals had U-turned the Cowboys instead of them.
They still don't get it.
Yeah, that they still don't get that this is part of the plan.
Exactly.
They just figured, they did the smart thing, and it's like, they're going to forget. No. The Cowboys were a bigger threat
of course
than you guys were. Because I'm telling you, the next time that everybody is equal, Brendan and Rachel are going to just eat it.
Yeah.
Because once again, they get stressed.
Yeah. And the Afghanimals, they totally get what they want the last four to be and who they can beat and why and how. So
right.
It was totally smart on their part.
Yes. I felt a little bad for Caroline and Jennifer because they're part of the alliance, but they didn't get why Leo and Jamal U-turned the Cowboys.
Yeah, it was
It was an absolute blonde moment.
It was a blonde moment.
Yeah, but once again, because they don't realize the role that they are playing in this alliance.
Yeah, they don't.
All they're concerned about is the fact that Dave and Connor have great hair.
They do have great hair.
I'm sure they do, but once again, that is their focus.
Exactly. Whereas the Afghanimals, they're like, who can we beat and who can we take with us to the Final Four?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Then Jet and Cord finally showed up at the U-turn. Disappointed, I would understand. And I know that they wanted to be Switzerland. Okay? But neutral countries get invaded too.
Yes.
They got a little pissy. There was a little bit of poor sportage.
Yeah, well, the fact that they were saying, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, you can.
That just wasn't cool. It's like, okay, it's the race, and we're down to the last 5 right now.
Last 5. It was not cool because it happened to you.
Yes.
That's the only reason why it wasn't cool.
Right.
So, after they went to the U-turn, then it was on to the pit stop at the Plaza de Espana.
Which was gorgeous.
I gotta go to Spain too.
Right? We need to go to Italy and Spain in the same trip.
Yes.
Do like a 10-day.
That would be a good one.
Right?
Yes. Dave and Connor came in first. Brendan and Rachel came in second, and Leo and Jamal came in third. We had to say goodbye to Jet and Cord this week.
I know.
But hey, they look really good in those flamenco outfits.
They did.
Even with the cowboy hats.
They did. They're just such cool guys. I'm gonna miss their gentlemanly spirit.
Yes, exactly. I thought it was really cool when Cord said, "Can I ride your horse?"
Yeah.
There goes Jet and Cord riding off into the sunset.
It was so cute, but I'm totally gonna miss them.
Yes, it was cute and cheesy at the same time, but altogether appropriate.
Yes. At the end of this, Dave's little speech he gave about Connor was super cute and totally sort of made me cry.
It was good. It was very good.
They're a cute father and son team.
The potential exists for a lot of firsts with this race. First father and son team, possibly. The first all-female team, possibly.
The first Afghanimal team.
So it was a very interesting week.
Yes.
Next week looks like England.
Really?
Yeah. There's like a soccer challenge or whatever. I don't know if it's a roadblock or a detour or whatever.
Okay.
Concerned about Jamal's knee.
Yeah.
And to see exactly how that's going to affect his ability to move around next week. Given that he was on the soccer field.
Oh, he was?
As well. Yes. It leads me to believe that it's a detour rather than a roadblock. So I'm thinking maybe Jamal is at least toughing it through the pain.
Yeah, I think so.
And one thing that I know that you'll be happy about during the preview, Rachel's crying again.
Really?
Yes. So believe me, I interpreted that as only positive.
Yeah. She fell so hard.
Oh my gracious.
At the end. I mean, I could hear it. Like, I swear I heard her head, smack the ground.
I mean, between trying to get to the bulls...
Right.
And then while she was a bull...
Oh, and then the ending sprint.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. She just can't stay on her feet.
And it was hard and fast. And Brennan's like, babe, what's going on?
I fall down. Brendan! Yeah, I laughed.
No, you didn't.
I just, it's like, I checked to make sure she was okay first, because that's what you do.
Right.
So, are you okay? Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm fine.
That's our time for today. You can follow us on Twitter at @did_watch it. You can also find us at iTunes. Let us know what you think. Thank you for listening.